Local news absolutely loves a good student walkout. You know the only entity on planet Earth that loves a good student walkout more than local news? Because they love it. They love it. It's so wholesome. Oh, the children are speaking. We're listening to the voices of the innocent children as they speak truth to the grown-ups, the local news will say. Listen to these youngsters as they tried to get the adults to do the right thing, the local news media will say. Local news loves a good walkout. Every place I've ever been on my journey to Nashville, whether it's Augusta, Georgia, Montgomery, Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama. I was briefly in combination with Birmingham and Huntsville, and then on up 65 to Nashville, Tennessee. Over all those many years, every community I've stopped in, they have at one time or another covered a good student walkout. The children are speaking. Listen to them. One, these kids wouldn't be able to find their butts with a flashlight. They are the smartest human beings on planet Earth, except, oh yeah, they're not. Number two, the only entity that loves a student walkout better than the news media to give them something to talk about are the students, because that becomes a free day. Now, I don't pretend that some of these students aren't serious about what they're doing, but I would suggest to you most of them have no idea what they're talking about. I remember when I was 17 years old or 16 years old, I was brilliant. And all of these old people didn't know what the hell they were talking about. I was the smartest human being on planet. If you think I think I'm smart now, and I do, you should have seen me when I was 16. All of you 35 and 40 and 50-year-olds, man, oh, man, what a bunch of idiots you are.
Giving your grandfather a good laugh, huh?
Oh, man, oh, man. I wish that I had $5 for every time my grandpa looked at me and go, you'll figure it out. And I thought he meant like then, and now I know he did not mean right then. You know, I'm blah, 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 blah about something or another, blah, 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 blah about something or another. You'll figure it out. And I did. So, yes, apparently students at Hume Fogg High School, isn't that a magnet school downtown?
Yes.
Hume Fogg High School in Nashville have participated in a walkout for change to protest teachers being armed in schools. Let's discuss. The Tennessee Senate approved a school staff carry firearm legislation despite the protests of parents. Parents last week, as we talked about last week on this show, were forced out of the Senate chamber as Tennessee lawmakers passed the bill. Well, they forced themselves out of the chamber because they would not comport with the rules of the body. There are rules of decorum. You can't sit in the gallery. Nobody in the history of America has been able to sit in any gallery in any legislature in the United States of America, Congress or otherwise, and just been able to scream and yell and act the fool. That's not how any of this works. Why do people think that's how it works? Just because it's an issue that they really, 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 really believe in one way or the other. I don't even care where you are on it. I'm just amazed at how many people, they threw the parents out. They threw Covenant parents out of the galleries. Everyone is sensitive to what the Covenant School has gone through. Every rational, reasonable, sane human being has feelings for what the Covenant School has gone through, especially those parents with kids in the classroom, and especially still those parents who lost loved ones or those family members who lost loved ones. But that doesn't mean that they have any special ability to determine whether this would be good or bad legislation. And it sure as heck doesn't mean that they have some special ability to go into the gallery of the House or the Senate and act the fool with impunity. You act like that, you get booted. Which is what happened to these folks in the Senate gallery. Senate Speaker Randy McNally cleared the gallery. because people refuse to be quiet. And he asked them repeatedly to stop disrupting, and they wouldn't stop disrupting, and so they got booted out. Some of the people who were booted were Covenant parents who saw, obviously, very up close and personal, the impact of a school shooter, as we all did. Last week, Senator Paul Bailey, who sponsored the bill, explained that it allows any and all staff and faculty to be armed in Tennessee schools if they choose to go through more than 40 hours of training and have a psychological evaluation. The bill is totally permissive. If a school district and a local sheriff's department do not want to implement the policy, they don't have to, said Senator Bailey. He then emphasized the bill will help rural communities who do not have the money for SROs. Senator Heidi Campbell, good friend of our show. We love Heidi. We love having her on. Until we don't. I think...
I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't mind Heidi. I was just done with her. I still get grief for that.
But you're not explaining it fully to the people who may not know. You felt like she was lying to you.
I told her that.
About a bill that had a placeholder filed but had no text written for it.
Right. It's called a capture bill. Yeah.
Right. So you got upset and told her she could leave. And she took you up on the offer.
No. Let's not skip this. Let's not skip this part. This is crucial, I think, to the understanding of the story. I told her she was being a hypocrite because she did not want to make available to the rest of the citizens of the state of Tennessee that which has been available to her, which is the ability to remove their children from a failing public education and put them in a private education, which is what Heidi has chosen to do with her children.
Right.
Heidi attended private school. Heidi never once attended a public school in her life, and her children attend a private school. So she doesn't have, in my opinion, any idea what she's talking about when it comes to public education and some of the failures. And she chooses to be blind to that. Secondarily, so that makes her a hypocrite, in my opinion. Secondarily, she kept saying that she had read the bill, and I knew it was a capture bill. And if you don't know what that means they put a placeholder on the bill. It's not going to be the final bill, and everybody knows it. It's called a capture bill. And she kept saying, well, I've read the bill. I said, you're lying.
And that happens regularly. That's not a weird thing.
Every year. And she said, and I remember this, she said, I'm not going to sit here and be called a liar. And I said, well, then you need to leave. And my reasoning...
I think you said then you can leave.
You can leave.
You didn't say get out. It was more like, if you want to go, you can.
Well, because I'm not... My point was... I'm not going to stop calling you a liar when you're lying.
Right.
And so you have choices to make too.
When Afton came in that one day, she's asked me, what do I expect? And I said, just don't tell him you've read a bill that hadn't been written and you'll be okay.
See, Afton and I had a great time. I'd invite her back.
She was actually very, very nice.
Heidi Campbell says, I think it's a travesty. I mean, this is going to make our schools less safe. And we were very clear about that in committee. It was very unfortunate that we kicked a lot of those that were there to kicked out a lot of those that were there to voice their fear. Covenant mothers said that they've been meeting with state lawmakers for months about the bill, especially a teacher with a handgun leaving a classroom full of students to go and protect them from a shooter who most likely has a bigger weapon is irresponsible to say the least, said Covenant mother Mary Joyce. Joyce said she's not against SROs, but at the least wanted some of their recommendations to be added to the bill after the tragic school shooting they had to live through. The bill passed the Senate last week, and it is being brought up this week in the House of Representatives. So, as a result of that, students have decided to walk out of class saying that this will make our schools less safe. Tell me how that is. Tell me how that is. I do this a lot, and I try to, I think if you examine an issue, if you want to fully understand your position on the issue, and I would encourage you to do it this way too, especially when it comes to things that are very controversial, if you want to try to really dig down and understand where you are on it, understand where the other side is. Put yourself in their position. Put yourself in the position of being anti-gun. It's hard to do it, but do that so that you can try to understand. And for this, I do not understand why you would not want protection within the system, trained protection within the system. Except I think I can get down to it. For not years, decades, liberals have been working on American youth. And they have been psychologically infecting them regarding the Second Amendment. I'll tell you what I mean in a moment. It's very important to understand how liberals think about guns and how they're trying to infect your children and your grandchildren with this same thought narrative. And they've been very effective at it.